Hello and welcome to Devereux's Fireside Chat video series. I'm thrilled to introduce today's guests. A big welcome to National Board of Trustees Chair and Family Member Clay Armbrister, National Board of Trustees Vice Chair Chris Butler, President and CEO Carl Clark, and Senior Vice President and Chief Strategy Officer Leah. Thank you all for taking time to be here today.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
All right, well, to provide some background for our viewers, we are here with Devereux's current and most recent National Board chairs. Chris has served as a national trustee for 17 years, including 6 as board chair from 2017 to 2023. And as part of Devereux's succession planning process, Chris recently moved into the role of vice chair. He also was elected chair emeritus. Clay, who has been a national trustee since 2013 and most recently served as vice chair, was elected to the position of board chair in November. Clay brings more than 40 years of experience to this role. He has held executive positions in law, government, and finance, and has served at all levels of education, including leadership roles at Johns Hopkins University, Girard College, and Temple University, and he recently retired as president of Johnson C. Smith University in North Carolina. I also want to mention that Clay is a Devereux parent and family member. His son, Dennis, began receiving educational services from Devereux in 1997, and today, Dennis receives support from our Pennsylvania Adult Services Center. So, Carl, together, when you look at the years, Clay and Chris bring nearly 30 years of experience to Devereux's board, and really, when you think about it, about 45 when you factor in Clay's family experience. What does it mean to have these two leaders who are so dedicated to our mission help guide us into the future?
Yeah, well, we're incredibly well led from a board governance perspective. We're very fortunate to have somebody with the breadth of experience like Clay, as you mentioned, is significant. Chris, which you didn't talk much about, is formerly the COO of a multi-billion-dollar international company. I think they do business with 170 countries around the world. And that kind of perspective leads itself to a very effective governance viewpoint that they use to help Devereux advance its mission forward. So especially when I think about the perfect storm that we recently experienced with the COVID pandemic, along with a major public relations issue where we had a series of negative articles from the newspaper that really affected the business that we do. To have that kind of experience at the helm was invaluable, and we're all very appreciative of their leadership.
Thank you, Carl. And I do think it's important to point out that Devereux requires its national board to include a minimum of 5 family members or family members whose loved ones are served by our organization. And this helps ensure that we fulfill the Devereux family standard of care. Leah, what is the Devereux family standard of care, and why is this board requirement so critical?
You know, there are so many unique and extraordinary things about Devereux, and I think that one of the most outstanding things, one of the things that makes us so strong at our core is that Devereux family standard. The Devereux family standard has always been at the center of our organization, but in our last strategic planning process, we really spent time codifying very specifically what that standard means to the organization and to those of us who do the work of serving those in our care and our families. So the Devereux family standard requires that Devereux operate programs of such excellence that every employee would entrust their own family members to the care of our services. It requires that Devereux constantly deliver services that are evidence-based, that are high quality, that are safe, and that are rooted in empathy, respect, and admiration for the people we serve and their families. And it requires that we deliver consistently contentment, dignity, safety, and success to those people entrusted to our care. It's really about trust, relationship, and commitment from those of us who work at Devereux to our families and to the people we serve. And that is what represents the Devereux family standard. And so that's our promise to the people we serve. And having those family members on our board, that's really sort of that sacred trust relationship. It keeps us focused on the things that matter most.
Leah, not only as a board member, but as a parent, I am really grateful, and I take great comfort in knowing that Devereux's mission is around the family standard. As a parent, entrusting a loved one to a situation where you're entrusting him or her to the care of someone else is really a difficult decision for a family member. And we just like to know that as a parent, but also as a board member, that our mission is to really treat the individuals we serve as if they were our own family members. And I really take great comfort and have been able to not only experience it as a parent, but to observe it as a board member every time we go to a facility, and for all of our staff members who work so hard in ensuring that we do uphold the family standard. I say thank you.
Well, it's a privilege. It's a pleasure. And to hear a family member say that, that's why we're here. It's the work of our hearts.
Indeed.
I want to turn the spotlight to Chris. Chris, you've been a national trustee since 2006. Tell us how and why you got involved.
Well, before that, before I retired from Independence Blue Cross, I was on the board of several not-for-profit organizations centered in Philadelphia, and Red Cross, United Way. I got to know Bob Kreider through that, and also with Devereux as a customer of Independence Blue Cross, had interaction with them then. Bob invited me to attend a Weaver Fallberg dinner. And I was very impressed by all the folks that I met there, the board, management, but in particular the award winners, and really was excited about all their compassion and commitment for the clients that we serve. So when I retired from IBC, Bob and the board invited me to join, and when I retired, I decided to really devote all my energies to one not-for-profit organization, and I picked Devereux because I thought that the mission was something that really resonated with me.
Oh, thank you, Chris. And, so I'm sure that in those 17 years you have served on our board, you've seen a lot of change. And I was just wondering, when you think back, especially during your time as chair, what are you most proud of?
Well, as Carl mentioned earlier, he and I started in our new roles. He is as the CEO and myself as the chair. We started around the same time in 2017, and not long after that, we were faced with the impact of the pandemic and also the series of negative press articles. And the thing I feel best about is how instead of pointing fingers, the board and the management team, staff really came together, owned what the issues that surfaced, and tried to figure out what's the best thing to do, what's the right thing to do, and how do we go forward. And we did a lot of great things. I think in particular, I think coming up with the position of a chief safety and risk officer, which is common in hospitals, but not in our industry. And I think that's just been a terrific outcome. And most recently resulted in our certification from Presidium. So I think it's really put us on the path to meet our goal to being best in class within our industry for client safety and quality of care. The last thing is that Leah made reference to our strategic planning process. I think we've got a much better strategic planning process now. And it's created a roadmap so that going forward, any decisions we make, whether it's getting into a new line of business, acquiring some partner, et cetera, we can hold it up to this roadmap and say, okay, does this make sense? Does this fit within our core business? Does this fit a need that we have? Overall, I think the board as a team and management did a lot of good things, and I feel pretty good about that. And I feel that the organization's really positioned very well for the future.
And Amy, if I could just jump in, leadership does matter. And the fact that Chris was at the helm of the organization during this time really says a lot to his leadership, and the organization is just much better for his leadership.
One of the things I wanted to add to what Chris had already mentioned is the fact that he led the process where the board invested an additional $75 million in qualitative and capital improvements across the organization, which is extremely significant in an organization of our size. So we're all very grateful for that as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Carl. Clay, I know Devereux is really near and dear to your family's heart, and I was wondering if you'd be willing to share how you found our organization, along with why it was so important for you to join our board.
Thanks for the question, Amy. Yes, Devereux is very important to our family. As many of you know, I have two sons on the spectrum. Dennis, the second of my two sons on the spectrum, was involved in the Philadelphia School District, as was my oldest son. And my oldest son went through the school district without any major issues and got the support he needed. But as we all know, our children are always different and they have different needs and requirements. And Dennis didn't seem to be blossoming solely within the school district and was given a referral to look at a couple of independent educational opportunities, of which Devereux was one. And his mother and I at the time then looked and we chose Devereux. And we're glad Devereux chose us. Dennis just blossomed. He started probably when he was about in the fourth grade and started at the educational center out at Kenner. It was at the Kenner site, I guess, at the time. And he went through his educational experience there and then had a wonderful transition from his school educational program as he went into adulthood post his 18 to 21 year period. And they did a wonderful transition and then subsequently ended up in an adult living situation right out in Wayne and in a very, very wonderful situation with 3 other clients who we serve and a wonderful staff who really provides Dennis with the time and attention that he so richly deserves and give him the quality of life that we hope he expects and earns.
Thank you, Clay. And we really love hearing those types of stories. And so now that Chris has passed the torch to you, what do you hope to achieve as chair?
Well, as you heard, the great work that Chris has done, really want to continue that great work. We want to be the best in class. We want to be the standard bearer. And we really I really think we're going to be able to make that happen with the great work that we have in terms of our management team and the great dedicated volunteer leadership we have of our board.
Well, Clay, that's a great segue for my next question and for Leah. So Leah, as we look to the future, one of the many areas you partner with our board is related to creating and setting Devereux's strategic plan. So we're now in year 2 of our current plan, and I'm guessing you're thinking about the next iteration of our strategy. So I know that Chris talked about this earlier with the strategic plan. What does the process of creating and then setting and implementing our strategic plan look like? And are there any hints as to what's in this next plan?
So it's a great question, Amy. And first, I really want to thank Chris for leading a process of renovating our strategic planning work and process at Devereux. In 2018, he really pushed us to rethink everything we do in terms of organizational design and strategic planning. And we went through an extensive process with Carl as our new president and CEO to renovate really everything we do and how we do it at the organization. It was a very exciting and dynamic process. So we are never not strategic planning now, which is exactly where any organization, and particularly a healthcare organization, has to be right now, right? Things are moving so quickly. And if you think about something like AI technology and what that will mean to healthcare in the future, you understand why you can't ever not be thinking about strategy and its impact on healthcare. We now operate a rapid cycle 3-year strategic planning process. And to your point, we're 2 years into an existing plan. Where we are with that plan right now, our leadership team, our Office of the President team under Carl's direction right now is on a roadshow, visiting all of our centers, talking with all of our staff about where we are with our existing plan. But then to your question, just because it exists doesn't mean that we aren't looking to the next plan that we have to start writing right now. So we've already met with Clay, and Clay has already said to us, hey, I've been in the new role for a day and a half, but we better start meeting to prepare for the next plan. We will be meeting with our president's executive council next month, the leadership of the organization internally, to get their initial feedback on what's worked with the existing plan and where we need to be taking the organization. Then we bring those two groups together and we start writing the new plan as we're working the existing plan, right? We owe a great deal to this board generation of board leadership and Carl, because that's how healthcare has to run. You've really got to be thinking and working the plan, testing your assumptions and changing all the time if you want to survive in this really incredibly dynamic environment that we live in now.
Thank you for
So
sharing that.
Amy,
Go ahead.
Leah deserves a lot of credit for facilitating and leading the creation of these plans, both with the board and with the senior team.
And I have to say, I've been involved in a lot of organizations, done a lot of planning, but I've never been involved in an organization in which the board and the management team have had such synergy, in large part because we do sit down and we talk about where the future of the organization is. And that is in large part because we have a singular focus about the mission. And we've talked about that before, whether it's be it the family standard and making sure that we're committed to that mission. So kudos to the board, our board colleagues, as well as to the management and staff for really developing a very, very dynamic and robust planning and strategic planning process.
Chris, as we're going to wind down the conversation a bit, and I just want you to share with us, why do you stay involved? And what are you looking forward to when it comes to the future for our organization?
Well, first of all, I enjoy it. I like the team. I like the management team. I love the staff. It's a great board. I think we've assembled a diverse set of folks with talent and a lot of enthusiasm and passion for the organization. So I will continue to stay involved because I'm committed to the organization. And I think we're in great shape for the future. I think, all the things that the team's put in place in the past couple of years, I think have really positioned us well. And I think we're set for growth and growth that is smart and enhances the businesses that we have today. So I'm very optimistic.
Thank you, Chris. And Clay, when you see the future, what are your hopes and dreams for Dennis and for really all those we serve across the organization?
Well, my hopes for Dennis is for all individuals that we serve, really for them to maximize their potential, whatever that might be. But as Leah said, it's really important that they do that in a very safe environment and allows them the dignity that they deserve, no matter what their particular circumstances are. So my hope for all of the folks that we serve is for them to reach their maximal potential and, quite frankly, to find what I call their happiness quotient, wherever they may fall on that continuum, and that we will be a facilitator of that in terms of them reaching their potential with dignity and finding happiness in their lives.
Absolutely. Clay, Chris, Carl, Leah, thank you again for your time. And many thanks to all those who are watching. So to my fellow Devereux colleagues, thank you for your tireless work to ensure our individuals live happy and socially connected lives, hitting that happy quotient that Clay was talking about. For those who don't work for Devereux yet, if you're thinking about a career in behavioral health, Devereux is your place. Being part of our team means you will make a positive impact in this world. So if you're interested in a career in behavioral health and working at Devereux, look for us online at jobs.devereux.org. Take care and have a great day.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.